There's a sound older than language. It moved through the first exhale of the first living thing, and it has been moving through every generation since, waiting patiently for us to remember it. Every culture that has ever gathered around a fire, a temple, a healer, has found its way back to the same original hum, dressed in different syllables and sung in different tongues, always reaching for the same underlying truth. This August, that sound has a home, and we at Vibes AI are calling it OmState. OmState is 4 tracks. 3 are mantras carried across thousands of years of human devotion, passed from teacher to student, from mother to child, from one generation's breath into the next. 1 is a restorative frequency built in this century with instruments that measure what mystics have always known by feel. All 4 share a single frequency running beneath them like a riverbed, carrying every current above it toward the same sea, 40 hertz. The same rhythm your brain reaches for when it is learning, remembering, healing, and arriving. 3 intentions, each one ancient and each one specific. 1 state held together by a rhythm modern neuroscience has only recently learned to name. We built this album because I noticed something in my own practice and later in research. The oldest sounds humans ever made for healing and the newest science on brain entrainment are pointing at the exact same place. One path walked by 2 different kinds of seekers arriving together. The mystic with the mantra, chanting in a language older than most nations, and the neuroscientist with the EEG, watching neurons find their shared rhythm on a screen. They're different instruments, but it's the same destination. You know this feeling already. It's the static behind your eyes at the end of a long day. The sense that your thoughts are moving faster than your nervous system can hold. You reach for coffee to focus and a drink to unwind, and somewhere in between those 2 things, your actual state, the one underneath the coping, goes unheard. You scroll for 5 more minutes, hoping the next thing you see will finally let your shoulders drop, and instead your jaw tightens a little more. There's also a quieter version of this, the version where your body is calm enough on the surface, where your calendar is full, your responsibilities are handled, and still, somewhere underneath all of that competence, you feel disconnected from your own center, disconnected from the people around you, disconnected from whatever it was that first made this life feel meaningful. You're managing well, but arriving is a different thing entirely. Researchers at MIT and Massachusetts General Hospital discovered that gentle sensory stimulation at 40 hertz, the frequency of gamma brainwaves, supports the brain's own cleanup and communication systems. Their work showed that this specific rhythm helps neurons synchronize the way a choir finds a shared pitch. When the brain entrains to 40 hertz, it is being reminded of a pattern it already knows. Alongside that discovery sits an older thread of research. Dr. John Bullier's work with tuning forks and vibroacoustic therapy found that vibration placed on the bone and connective tissue triggers the release of nitric oxide. That's the same molecule that tells your blood vessels to relax and your circulation to open. Humming does this too. Chanting does this too. Doctors Eddie Weitzberg and John Lundberg showed that humming dramatically increased nasal nitric oxide production. Your own voice, used with intention, is a vagal nerve intervention. And then there's the mantra research itself. Multiple randomized controlled trials on Om chanting have measured real reproducible shifts. Heart rate variability improves, blood pressure drops in hypertensive patients, sleep quality deepens, anxiety eases, and some of this research even points to the autonomic nervous system directly, showing that a single sustained tone, chanted or received, can shift the balance between the sympathetic system that keeps you braced and the parasympathetic system that lets you rest. These are outcomes published, peer-reviewed, and repeatable. None of this requires you to abandon your own tradition or adopt new belief systems. the 40 Hz thread and the vagal pathway work on any nervous system in any body, regardless of what you believe about where the mantra came from. What matters is the vibration reaching you consistently with intention behind it. There's also something worth naming about why these three mantras specifically sit together on one album. Om, brainwave biomantra, and Shanti form a deliberate lineage moving from origin to insight to expansion, from the sound behind all sound to the light behind the clear thought to the compassion behind connection. Sequenced together, they trace a complete arc that the ancient traditions understood long before anyone had a word like gamma entrainment. Modern neuroscience gave that arc a mechanism. The mantras gave it a meaning. So let me walk you through the 4 tracks of this album, because each one holds a different key, and in the older traditions, each one also has a home in the body itself. Om is the first mantra on this album because every spiritual tradition that has ever chanted it treats it as a point of origin. The Sanskrit texts describe it as the vibration underneath creation itself, the hum the universe makes simply by existing. When you chant Om, or when you let this track chant it for you, you're working with pure resonance, a return to source frequency, the way a tuning fork returns a piano string to true pitch. The 40 Hz layer moves underneath the chant like a current, giving your nervous system a rhythm to entrain to, while the tone itself gives your whole body a vibration to settle into. Practitioners across generations have placed this sound in the crown, the very top of the body, the place associated with unity and the felt sense of belonging to something larger than the self. Your ancestors called this coming home. Your vagus nerve calls it activation. Let this track meet you first thing in the morning, before your phone, before your inbox, before the day had a chance to hand you its agenda. 3 minutes of Om before your feet fully hit the floor can change the tone of everything that follows. Brainwave biomantra carries the Gayatri mantra, one of the oldest verses in continuous human use, drawn from the Rig Veda and chanted for over 3,000 years. Where Om is pure origin, Gayatri is a request. It is a prayer addressed to the light that makes all life possible, asking that light to illuminate the mind, meditate on that radiant source so that our understanding might be guided by it. This is the track for clarity, for the mornings when your thoughts feel like a room with the blinds still drawn, or the afternoons when a decision is in front of you and you have too many competing voices. Brainwave biomantra, riding the same 40 Hz current as the rest of this album, is an invitation to let the mind be lit from within, rather than forced into focus from the outside. Illumination arrives when you make space for it, the way daylight arrives simply because you opened the blinds. This track opens the blinds. The traditional home of this mantra in the body is the third eye, the space between and slightly above your physical eyes, long associated with insight, discernment, and the kind of seeing that has nothing to do with your actual eyesight. When gamma entrainment supports the communication between different regions of the brain, and the mantra itself is a direct request for illuminated understanding, you're working with a full stack solution to mental fog. Ancestral language, modern neuroscience, same intention arriving from 2 directions at once. The third mantra is a phrase you may have heard at a close of a yoga class without knowing its full weight. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. May my own thoughts, words, and actions somehow contribute to that happiness and to that freedom for all. This is the mantra of expansion. Om brings you home to your own source. Brainwave biomantra lights your own mind. And Shanti takes what you have gathered in those first 2 tracks and turns it outward toward every person you will pass today, every being sharing this planet with you at this exact moment. Its traditional home is in the heart, the physical center of the chest where your own pulse lives alongside everyone else's, and where centuries of practitioners have located the felt sense of connection to something beyond the individual self. Compassion research consistently shows that loving kindness practices shift the nervous system into states associated with safety and connection, lowering markers of stress and increasing feelings of social closeness even when practiced alone, in silence with no one else in the room. This track gives that shift a 40 Hz foundation and a melody to hold it steady, so the expansion you feel becomes a state your whole body is resting in, held in the muscles and the breath, rather than in thought alone. The final track on this album is a restorative frequency piece built specifically to help you carry what the first 3 tracks opened into the rest of your day. Your own nervous system knows it as the state where the prefrontal cortex quiets its chatter just enough to let deep, practiced knowledge come through unobstructed. We built flow state around the same 40 Hz gamma entrainment, this time as pure sustained coherence. Consider this track the exhale after the 3 prayers before it. Om brought you to source, brainwave biomantra lit your mind, Shanti opened your heart to everyone around you, and flow state takes all of that integration and lets your own nervous system carry it into motion, into your work, and into your actual living day. This is where the album stops asking you to sit in stillness and starts asking you to move through your life differently. Flow state in the research describes a specific pattern of neural activity where the regions of the brain responsible for self-monitoring and self-criticism quiet down, while the regions responsible for skilled action stay fully engaged. It is a state a surgeon enters mid-procedure, the state a writer enters 3 hours into the draft, the state you may remember from a single afternoon when time seemed to move differently and the work simply happened through you rather than by force of will. This track gives your nervous system a rhythm to entrain to on the way into that state, so it arrives faster and holds longer. Before you press play for the first time, take one full breath in through your nose and let it out slowly through your mouth, and notice without judgment what you find, where your body's holding tension, your jaw, your shoulders, the space behind your sternum. This is your baseline, and OmState is designed to move you somewhere measurably different from that. So here's how I want you to use this album, though your own body may show you something even better than what I'm about to suggest. Start with headphones if you can, because the 40 Hz layer moves through binaural and stereo placement in ways speakers can flatten. Move through the tracks in order the first several times you listen: Om, brainwave biomantra, Shanti, and flow state, so your nervous system experiences the full arc from source to mind to heart to action. Let yourself feel each transition rather than rushing to the next track. There's information in the pause between them. Once you know the terrain, you have permission to use these tracks individually or reach for Om whenever you need to return to yourself or in the middle of the day that has pulled you far from center. Reach for brainwave biomantra before a decision that requires clear sight, a difficult conversation or a piece of writing, a choice you've been circling around without landing. Reach for Shanti when your heart has gone small and needs reminding of how large it actually is, especially on the days when the news or a relationship or your inner critic has made the world feel colder than it is. Reach for flow state before the work that matters most, the project you've been avoiding, the creative session that you've been postponing, the performance that asks everything of you at once. You might notice, over weeks of listening, that your body starts to associate these specific tones with these specific states, the way a scent can instantly return you to a place you have not visited in years. That association is the nervous system learning a genuine shortcut back to a state it already knows how to reach. A body, a nervous system, and roughly 25 minutes are all this asks of you. The mantras have already done the work of holding their intention across thousands of years of human voices. Your job is to simply let this one land in you too. I want to leave you with something that I've come to trust completely. Every tradition that has ever chanted has been telling us the same thing in different languages, that we are vibration before we are anything else, that the body remembers rhythms the mind has forgotten, that healing often arrives not as a new idea, but as a return to something we already carried inside us. Sound asks only that you have a body, because a body is all sound needs to do its work. The mystics who first chanted Om had their own felt experience, and they trusted it enough to pass it down, mouth to mouth, for thousands of years. And now we have instruments to measure what they already knew. The 40 hertz rhythm beneath your thoughts, the nitric oxide moving through your blood, the vagus nerve settling into safety. OmState arrives this August with 3 prayers and 1 restoration built on a single frequency old enough to be called ancient and precise enough to be called scientific. The mystic and the scientist can rest side by side in you. You are only ever being asked to choose your own healing, and this album simply hands you 2 languages for the same journey. Let it find you exactly where you are. This is Vibes AI, where science meets the soul and sound becomes your superpower. Become a Vibes AI Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts. Get ad-free, early access to our 30 and 60-minute sessions designed to boost your cognitive health. Try it out today with our 3-day free trial. Not on Apple Podcasts? No worries. Hit the link in our show notes and get in on the vibes.